Masechet Pesahim. We are today actually in Samech Dalid, believe it or not. Let me just review to a few things we said in the Mishnah. So there is a halakha that a person has to shochet the Korban Pesach on the 14th of Nisan. That's correct. On the 14th of Nisan, you need to bring Korban Pesach. Everybody's going to do that, and that's a mitzvah to eat the Korban Pesach the night of. There is a pasuk that says, if you look on Daf Samech Gimel Amoud Aleph, Lo tishrat in the Torah, or Lo tishrat al chametz dam zivchi. Pay attention to the pasuk. Lo tishrat al chametz dam zivchi. You are not allowed to shecht your Korban Pesach when you're still in the possession of chametz. Of course, at the 12-hour mark, at the halfway mark on Erev Pesach, you got to be rid of all the chametz. You got to burn it. But if you didn't get rid of your chametz and you still own it, well, you have one avera only chametz. That's pashut. But you have another avera, a lo taseh min Torah, when you're shechting the Korban Pesach. You actually now have a second prohibition, and you're going to have a problem that you owned chametz while you were shechting the Korban Pesach. What does that play out to? It plays out and it translates into getting two sets of makot. If you actually own the chametz, you get a set of makot. You could be doing one avera, but it's two prohibitions. One action is two prohibitions. You're going to get two set of makot. That's what we said. So you cannot shed the Korban Pesach when you are in the possession of chametz. I'll just tell you what the Mishnah said very quickly because we're going to need it, and then I'll remind you what we said yesterday. We're going to go through. The first little part is a little hard, and then it's smooth sailing in the Amoud. So we said also that there's three shittot. So the Tanna Kama says just it's the Korban Pesach is the problem. Lo tishrat al chametz dam zivchi. Don't check the Korban Pesach or you. Any other Korban, no problem. Rabbi Yehuda adds the Tamid. On the 14th of Nisan, not only there's Korban Pesach to bring, there's also the Tamid to bring. That's brought every day. And that is brought right before the Korban Pesach. So if you bring the Tamid with that's brought every single day, morning and afternoon, in the morning, and one ben arbaim, you have a Korban Pesach as well. You have a Tamid as well. If you bring that way on chametz, you have another avera. That's the Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon adds even something else. Even during the week of Pesach, if you're bringing korbanot and you still own the chametz, any other korbanot you can bring during that Chol HaMoed or during those other chagim, you're also having an avera. So he's adding the whole week that you're not allowed to own chametz, all the korbanot you bring over there is going to be puzzle. He just says something interesting, Rabbi Shimon, is that when on the day of Erev Pesach, your main mitzvah is the Korban Pesach. So when you're bringing that one, you have an avera. If you bring all the other korbanot on that day, any shlamim or anything else, you don't have an extra avera only chametz when you bring korban. However, during the week when there is no korban Pesach and you bring shlamim or chatat or whatever it is, if you are bringing a regular korban and you own the chametz, you have another avera. So just to be clear, Tanna Kama says only korban Pesach. Rabbi Yehuda adds on the 14th a tamid, and Rabbi Shimon adds on the 14th it's korban Pesach, and the whole week it's all the other korbanot. By the way, one more thing to know is that you can actually bring a Korban Pesach on the day of Erev Pesach for not the intent of a Korban Pesach. It's not a Korban. If you think you're bringing a Korban Toda when it's supposed to be a Korban Pesach, it's nothing. So you won't have a prohibition of owning chametz on that because that's nothing. And the same way in the week, if you bring a Korban Pesach, you didn't bring your Korban Pesach on the day before Pesach, and you bring it during the week. So when you're bringing that, what did you do? Did you bring a Korban Pesach? That's nothing. That's a Pasal Korban. So therefore, you don't have an extra prohibition of owning chametz. That's what we said in the Mishnah. Then we went forward to that, and we want to know. Now, who's shechting? One guy's shechting. For example, we could be one chabura owning the Korban Pesach, right? And one guy's shechting it. If one person out of the chabura owns the chametz, that's what we said yesterday, so everybody gets a problem. It doesn't have to be the guy shechting. Anybody that's part of the group, because the Korban Pesach, everybody has to be appointed at Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach has to be eaten up everything by the end of the night. So you have to get as many people, you got to have like 50 or 60 people on each Korban Pesach so that everybody will get a kazait of meat. You're buying a whole sheep, you're checking the whole sheep, and we cannot leave anything over. So if you're only 5 people in your family, you're going to get the neighbors. And if the neighbors only 5, you're going to get the neighbors after them. And the whole group together will eat one communal Korban Pesach. So far, so good? Now, if one person owns chametz in the whole group, then there's a problem even on the person shechting the Korban Pesach. If somebody else that's in the Beit HaMikdash, he's not our group, he's that group, he's Beit Rambam group, he's Chabad group, that's not our Korban Pesach. If he owns chametz, it's not my problem. How do we learn that from? Because in the pasuk which I just quoted to you, look at it again, Torah O on Samech Gimel, Amoud Aleph, if you have in the margins, I have it in my margin, Torah O, Lo tishrat al chametz dam zivchi, do not shecht your Korban Pesach al chametz dam zivchi. Al means in this context with. Do not shecht with chametz dam zivchi. V'lo yalin boker. And that's another important. Do not let anything be left over till the morning. You have one thing is you gotta shecht it and you gotta finish it by the morning. Either you finish eating it, I'm not sure if you burn it, I don't remember right now, but you gotta finish it by the morning. Don't leave anything over. So anything that you will have a problem if you leave over, that's a problem if you own chametz. Don't check it with chametz, don't leave it over. 1 second. I have only a problem of leaving over my korban, not your korban. So I only have a problem if it's my chametz, not if it's your chametz. Based on that, since we just did that drash, so now there's one more thing that comes into play, is that since it's talking about only the shchita, but also anything that's left over in the morning, what's left over in the morning? You can't leave over the fats to the morning. The korban has to be also burn the fats that are not edible. That's called hekter charavim, to burn the fats, or to burn over the limbs. Any limb that's left over, you got to burn it as well. The whole thing has to be disintegrated by the morning. If that's true, so now we want to know, do you also have an avera of owning chametz when you are burning the items? So that's where we got to yesterday. So let's go to the bottom of the page, Samachim and Amoud Bet, at the bottom of the page. I'm going to read it again because we went a little bit quick. Amar Papa, so Samachim and Amoud Bet, last two lines of the small lines. Last word is Papa, Amar Papa. Hirkach Kohen. So since we just said that we are equating the chametz to leaving over the korban till the morning, Amar Papa Hirkach. Therefore, Kohen maktir et hacherev over belo taseh. If you are Kohen that's burning the chelev, the fat, in the morning, and you still have chametz, well, since you collected the pasuk that says lo tishchat al chametz and don't leave it in the morning, well, leave it in the morning. What are you doing? You're burning the fats. That's also can be left in the morning. So therefore, you have a problem if you own chametz then. Huid v'yeshnu bichlal ananat emorim. And that's what Papa says, because since that's included in the prohibition, you got to burn it by the morning. And there's a bright to the effect of Rapapa. So if you shech the chametz and if you're shechting the korban pesach and you own chametz, over belo taseh. That's a negative prohibition. When the guy shechting, with the guy throwing the blood, or the guy part of the chabura, the group, he has some chametz. Somebody else that's here from the other side of the world, he's here and he has some chametz, it's not my problem. That's what we explained outside. When it's the guy shechting, the guy throwing it, and even the guy burning it, that's what we just said that Rapapa says. Burning is not written in any pasuk. But since you connect burning in the morning to the shechting, so you can't burn, the same way you can't leave over any parts in the morning, you gotta burn the fats. So if you own the chametz while you're burning the fats, it's also chayav. Avana molek et ha'of be'arba'asar en over b'lo klum. So there's something which is called shechting the bird from the neck. So there's certain times where you're gonna bring a bird as a korban. It has nothing to do with korban pesach. It's an independent korban that's brought on that day. You have the korban has a long fingernail and he shechs the back of the back of the bird for a mitzorah or whatever it is. So that guy, if he's shechting that chicken, that bird, he doesn't have any problem of that dove. He doesn't have a problem with chametz because that's not part of our sugya. That's nothing to do. And we're gonna ask a question in a second. So that's the first braita. We challenge that braita with another braita. So again, we're saying the same things, but we're going to challenge two things over here. What do we say in our last braita? We said there's no problem. So there is a problem if you maktir, burning the fats, and there is no problem of shechting the chicken. Here we're saying the opposite. So if you're shechting your korban pesach in yon chametz, you have a lo taseh. Rabbi Yehuda omer afa tamid. Like our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda also says the tamid is also a problem. Amru lo amru ela bepesach bivlan. So in this second braita, Chachamim answer back to Yehuda, no, there's only a problem of korban pesach, nothing to do with the tamid. Ematai bizman sheyesh lishchot. Same thing so far. We're talking about the guy who's shechting, the guy that's storing the blood, the guy that's part of the group. If another guy has nothing to do with our group, he's from the other side of the world, he has chametz, and zakuklo, that has nothing to do with me. V'echad hashochet, v'echad hazorek, v'echad hamolek. Problem. Here we're saying it's also the guy shechting, also the guy throwing the blood, and even a guy that's shechting a chicken, checking a dove. We just said before in the other bite that's not a problem. I can own chametz if I'm shechting a chicken. It's not korban pesach. Chicken's not true, by the way. It's a turtle dove. I don't know what it's called.
It's a dove and it's a thumb.
It's a thumb. It's a thumb. Okay, so the thumb. When I was in yeshiva, there was a coin that had a long thing over here. He was keeping it for the Beit HaMikdash. Good. He had emunah that the next is going to be built any day. He would be the first one to come work. You're going to take you a month to grow your nail, and no, you can't work. He's going to be the first one to work. So echad b'sevon en zakuklo. V'echad hashochet v'echad zoreh v'echad hamonek. And even shechting the dove with the thumb. V'echad hamazen. That's not like our brother before. V'echad hamazen. And even the guy sprinkling the blood. But if you have, for example, flour offerings at the same time, you take there's some flour that's being brought at the same time, some is korban. That has nothing to do with the korban. If you burn the limbs, also if you burn the limbs, there's no problem. So now our two braitas contradict each other. The first braita said there's no problem with the burn, and there is a problem with burning the limbs. Here we're saying there is a problem with the burn, and there's no problem with the limbs. Kushya, that's what the Gemara says in Samech Dalet. Kasha, minika, kasha, ktara, kaktara. So we have a contradiction. One braita does not be with midika, the shechting the bird, and we also have a problem with burning the limbs. Uritamich. So now braita 1 and braita 2 contradict each other. Just get over this little hump. It's not so hard. We're going to get through it. Uritamich. Tik shedecha gufa. So now the Gemara says, you think that's a big problem? It's not. You have a problem even when braita in itself. And we read very quickly, but the second braita says, it's not a question A to B, it's a question in B. There's a contradiction in Mishnah B. What is in braita B? Remember we said over there? Korban Pesach is the problem. Rabbi Yehuda said Tamid. They told him back only Korban Pesach. Bilvad. V'adar tane, echad hashochet, v'echad hazorek, v'echad hamolek, v'echad hamazeh. And then that same braita says it's only upon Korban Pesach. And then it says, even if you're molek, a bird is not Korban Pesach. And even mazeh is sprinkling the blood of the bird. So you just told me in the same braita that the only reason you have a problem of holding chametz is if you're shechting a Korban Pesach. And now you're telling me you have a problem if you're shechting a bird. Bird is not Korban Pesach. So make up your mind. What is the halacha? Elaha ve'ha Rabbi Shimon. So really, we're going to restate it like this. Both braita to Rabbi Shimon. There's no contradictions. All of these over here is Shitad Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That he holds only Korban Pesach is the problem on Erev Pesach, like I told you, and during the week, everything else is a problem. So the bird will be a problem in the week. That Rabbi Shimon mirika lakasha. So when one braita says it's a problem of the bird and one says it's not, kan barbasa, kan b'chodesh hamoed. Very easy. The first braita that said you have a problem of the bird, that's on the Chodesh Hamoed. And the second one, you have no problem with the bird, that's on the day of Erev Pesach. Rabbi Shimoni, aktera, namino kasha, Tanai. Because actually these are two Tanaim that said in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon was third generation of Tanaim. Let's make that sure that's true. Rabbi Eliezer, who was the first generation? You have in your list. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. That was Hillel and Shammai was the Zugot. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. After Rabbi Eliezer, we have Chamishat Tamidim. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is Rabbi Shimon. Fourth generation, then it's Rabbi. So the Tamidim of Rabbi Shimon, they brought braitot in contradicting Rabbi Shimon what he said. You went to the Rabbi Shir. Yomi comes out and says the rabbi said white, and the mayor comes out, the rabbi said black. You were both in the shir. Machlokit in what the Rebbe said. Machlokit. So that's why one says haktara is a problem, one says haktara is not a problem. Tanaini, the ika de makish haktara de shrita, bika de lo dana, bika man de lo makish. So like I told you at the beginning of the shir, the pasuk clearly says, Mr. Cohen, or anybody, it's not a Cohen, you are shechting korban pesach, don't eat chametz. Does that have to do with leaving over things to the morning, or has no things? You get one avira. The guy's shechting. Korban Pesach. He has chametz. Is the train there?
I think so.
The guy's shechting the Korban Pesach. He has a chametz. So he gets one avira. He's now going in the morning and he's burning over the leftover limbs of the Korban Pesach. Does he get another avira? Well, it depends. In the pasuk they say don't shecht and don't leave over. So if you connect the two, then you get two avirot. If you don't connect the two, then you only get one avira. So the Rashi is going through how you connect them, you don't connect them. So it's not a kusha. One says yes, it's connected. One says it's not connected. And the Gemara says it's not a problem. But everything was Shitat Rabbi Shimon. The Gemara says weiter. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Af Tamid. Very simple. So Rabbi Yehuda said you also have a problem of the Tamid. Why do you have a problem with the Tamid if you own Chametz? My Tamid Rabbi Yehuda Amar Licha Zifrei. The pasuk looks. The pasuk says. The pasuk Aleph says Lo Tizbach Al Chametz Dam Zifri. Don't shecht when you own chametz the blood of my zivchi. It doesn't say korban pesach. We're obviously talking about korban pesach, but why did the Torah use the word zivchi? My korban. What is Hashem's korban that He gets every day? Kerebe zeva. What does it say? Zevach hamiuchadi umaninu tamid. The one that's always for me. That is the tamid. Let me ask you a question. Korban pesach is for you or for Hashem? That's for you. You're eating it. It's for Hashem, but who's getting the geshmak? Pesach is Shabbos is for Hashem. It's for you. It's for Hashem, but you get a geshmak on Shabbos, right? You're eating the korban pesach. You're having the meat, but the tamid you don't taste the thing. It's Hashem. It's all on the mizbeach. So when the pasuk says yes, it's talking about korban pesach, but it says dam zivri. So here Rabbi Yehuda has a different drash. Also my korban. Bottom line, don't forget, you were supposed to burn your chametz in the morning on Erev Pesach. Today's Erev Pesach, like today. You have another hour to burn your korban pesach, to burn your chametz. You didn't do it. It's no big deal. The rabbis are too machmir. You make it to the Beit HaMikdash, you start shechting the tamid. You shech the tamid. Rabbi Shimon says you don't get an avira for that. You shech your pesach, you get an avira for that. But Rabbi Yehuda says no. You also get an isur from the tamid. So you can get two avirot. One avira for the korban pesach and one for the tamid. Now we're going to go back to Shitat Rabbi Shimon. Interesting. It's the only time I saw this in Shas, but it's brought in one more place. Rabbi Shimon Omer Pesach ba'arba'asach. So remember what the pasuk clearly says. You have a problem of owning chametz when you're shechting on the 14th. That's what it says. How does Rabbi Shimon come and tell us about the whole week as well? That if you're shechting any korbanos in the whole week, so you get a problem if you own any chametz. You get an avera if you own any chametz. My time with Rabbi Shimon. Because there's two psukim that basically say the same thing. Look in Torah Or if you have it. It's important to have it. Lo tizbach ad chametz aleph, okay? Lo tizbach ad chametz dam zivchi v'lo yanin cherev chagi ad boker. Don't shecht with chametz dam zivchi. See that yud over there? Okay, the next pasuk says, that's in Shmot Chav Gimel Yudchet. The next pasuk says, Lo tishrat al chametz dam zivchi. Again, same thing. A new pasuk saying basically the same thing. V'lo yalin laboker zevach chag pesach. You cannot shecht on chametz dam zivchi. So it's saying the Torah is saying the same thing twice. Why is it saying twice? And by the way, there's a rule. When it says the same thing twice, and there's two yuds, and this, it's the first time I see this. Tamid Rabbi Shimon, zivchi. It says twice. Te zimne. Karebe zevach zivchi. So there is a rule over here that you're actually allowed to take the yud from one zivchi and put it on the other zivchi. It says zivchi. So you actually take one yud and you put it on the second one. Seems to be Torah Shabbat Peh that you can do this. It's Aracha Moshe Misinai, something like that. Then you put it on the other. So now you have one word zivchi, two yuds, and one zevach. So plural, singular. So it's like the Torah said, plural, singular. There's Mefarshim that slach and ask why didn't Torah just write that instead of having to take it like this. But either way, that you're allowed to do that. So it's like the Torah says, since it's written twice, don't shecht a korban when you have chametz. And don't shecht korbanos when you have chametz. What is the difference between the two? Why is there a difference between the two? Why not put them in one place? Why didn't it split them up? Why did it write zebach one place and zivchi in the other place? To tell you like this, when there is one korban that's needed that day and only one that's zevach, then you have no problem of the other korbanos. And when there's no korban pesach, then you mechayev on the zivchi. So we have two psukim. It's like one said, don't shecht when you have a zevach, and don't shecht when you have zvachim, when you have korbanos. What does it mean? When there's a korban pesach, that's your only prohibition. That means if you shecht a shlamim and a toida and a chatat on the 14th, you don't get avirot for that. You only get on the korban pesach. But on the other days when there's no korban pesach, you get for all the different types. That is the chol hamoed. One more thing, the Gemara says before we get to the Mishnah, interesting Mishnah. Ubimoed Nishmo patur. So here it's only quoting part of the Mishnah, but basically, like I told you before, Rabbi Shimon is saying, if on Chol HaMoed you're shechting something that's pasul, then you have no problem. You didn't get an avera. So you only get an avera if you own chametz, if you're shechting something that's kosher. If it's not kosher, you don't get an avera. The guy shechted 100 korbanos. So we're going to give him 100 times makas. By the way, you know how it would work? We wouldn't give it in one day. You got 40, I can't. If you give another 40, he's going to die. Take a week off, come back, you get another 40. Take a week off, you come get another 40. So the guy's going to get all the makot. So he's looking, so the guy was a little bit careless, and we warned him, and he didn't care, and he brought 10 korbanos during that week. Every day he's coming, bringing a shlamim, he's bringing this, he's bringing that, he's bringing that. And the guy is trying to give me a leniency. What does it make a difference? You're already getting makos. Yeah, but I don't want another set of makot. So when will he not get another set of makot? When he brought the korban Pesach from that Erev Pesach, he brought it during the Chag, when he brought it for Korban Pesach. If he brought it for Korban Pesach, it's not a kosher Korban. During the week. I'll tell you one more thing. Korban Pesach, by default... Huh? No, he designated a few and he didn't bring it. He was late and he thinks he's going to catch up. You can't catch up now. Don't do that. He doesn't care. So now let me just tell you one more thing. If for whatever reason the guy designated the Korban Pesach and he didn't bring the Korban Pesach, by default it becomes usually a shlamim. We always know that by default it becomes a shlamim, and that means it's a regular kosher thing. So here we said, b'moed lishmo patur. I need to read the Mishnah. So if he brings on Pesach and he brings a Korban Pesach for the sake of Korban Pesach, if he brings it during the week, he doesn't get any avera from that. Why? Because it's not a kosher Korban. B'shelo lishmo patur. Sorry. B'moed lishmo patur, shelo lishmo chayav. If he brings it, shelo lishmo chayav. Again, so the guy was supposed to bring the Korban Pesach every Pesach. He did not bring it. He's coming on the Chag, and he's bringing it. This is not Korban Pesach. That means it's a shlamim. So now it becomes a shlamim, and now he has an avera. You guys got that? He missed it, he didn't bring it, now he's bringing it, and he's specifying, Rabotai, this is not Korban Pesach, it is a Shlamim, it's Lo Lishmo, it's not the Shem Korban Pesach, he gets an avera. The Gemara asks a question, Tama, Lo Lishmo, Hastama Patur. That means that he has to specify it's not anymore Korban Pesach. If he brings it with no specification, that's called Stam, he just doesn't mention anything. What's the halacha? Patur. It's going to be patur, because we're assuming that it still maintains the status of Korban Pesach. The Gemara says, Amai. Pesach b'shal yemot hashana shlamim. We have a rule that anything by default, when you miss the day of Korban Pesach and you bring it during the week, it's automatic shlamim. So why does the guy need to on Chol HaMoed say this is not a Pesach, it's a shlamim? It should be just bringing it on its own, and then it becomes automatically a shlamim. So why do you need to specify it here? The Gemara says, Shmad mina Pesach b'shal yemot hashana ba'yakira. So we learn from here that in order to take it away from the status of Korban Pesach, you actually need to specify this is not Korban Pesach. Is that true? We never heard that. Amar Abchia ba'gamda nizreka mipnei chabura. Somebody in the group in the Beit Midrash said something and everybody agreed. Yes. What is it? Amru kigon shaya barim tmei metz. Pesach Sheni, the Stam and the Shum Pesach Kai. These people we're talking about here were Tmei Mitim. Why did you not bring it? Like God is asking. Why did you not bring it on Korban? The guy had to go to be in he's in Chevra Kadisha. He was about to bring his Korban Pesach. A guy passed away, he had to bury him. So he's Tamemet. So the Korban he brought is really a Korban Pesach. He's allowed to bring it 1 month later on the 15th of Iyar for Korban Pesach. So it still remains the status. So if you want to take it away, you got to say it. Otherwise, it keeps the status quo. Bottom line, what we just learned, that if you have a Korban Pesach, and you miss the date, if you can bring it again, it automatically reverts to, by default, a shlamim. If you can bring it again, and therefore you don't have to say anything, it's an automatic shlamim. But if you are a person that will be allowed to bring it on the 15th of Iyar because it is a Pesach Sheni, because that only allowed for a few people that were Tamed, or for whatever reason they were too far, they couldn't bring it, then we give you the exception. So the animal you brought, it stays Korban Pesach. You want to change it? Now you got to specify. It retains its status quo unless you verbalize it. Now we're going to speak an interesting Mishnah about the Seder of Korban Pesach. A Pesach nishnat b'shlosha kitot. So all of Am Yisrael are coming to the Beit Mikdash on the 14th of Nisan, and they will be split up into 3 groups. Even if there's not a lot of people, it doesn't matter how many are. We're splitting up the moments where all of group 1, group 2, group 3 coming in to do the Korban Pesach. Why did we do that? Because the pasuk says shachetu oto kol Kehan edat Israel. Ka'al ve'edah v'Israel. Ka'al means one group. Edah means another group, and Israel means another group. So the Korban Pesach is brought in 3 groups. There was a miracle that all of Israel could fit inside in 3 groups, but that's what would be even 3 groups. And it's chidush. Even if there's not a lot of people, there's only 100 people over here, we would still split up into 3 groups to make sure that it's 3 groups coming in. And here's how it would work. Nichnesa kad rishona nitmena zera nanu delatot azara. So we let in the first group. It's like shiners. You know shiners in Uman? Let in the first group. When it's full, the tables are full, we lock the doors. So we let into the Azara. Everybody's here. Everybody has a spot. You're going to bring a korban. Lock the doors. You guys are going to wait an hour till these guys are finished. What do we do over there? Tiku, iriu, v'tiku. Tikia, tu, tirua, tu. And again, tikia, tu. והכהנים עומדים שורות ובידיהם בזכי כסף, בזכי זהב. Now you're standing over here, and there's lines of kohanim, and the kohanim have little bowls, and they need to get the blood. Because don't forget, in general, usual terms, there's not so many people. Whoever checks the korban gets the blood, and he has what we said before, holacha. You bring it to the mizbeach and you spritz it on the mizbeach. Here, there's too many people. You're going to have people back and forth. So what do? We have a lineup of kohanim, and the way it would work is like there would be one line with silver bowls and one line with gold bowls. Shurot bidem bizichi kesef bizeh hazav. Shura kula kesef, shura kula zav. You only have gold bowls and you only have silver bowls. Lo hayu me'oravim, they were not mixed up. Lo hayu debazichin shulayim. And the cups would not have, I learned from this Gemara something amazing, which I never understood until today. And these cups didn't have any bases. It would be like the cups you get in the dentist or the doctor. You know the cups and they have the water over there? And the cones over there? Why do you think they would have cones? I'll tell you why. Look what it says. Shema yanichum v'yikrash adam. Because the blood needs to be liquid. If you leave blood unattended, it becomes coagulated and you can't spritz it. So we don't want anybody to be a little bit lazy, put down his blood on the table, on the table or on the floor, and it's going to become karush. So therefore we make it that it's cone shaped, so it's going to spill, nobody's going to put it down. That's why if you go into many shuls, you have the bookshelves. Whoever didn't do that, he does it the next time he renovates. If the bookshelf is flat like this, you get all the hats, all the things on top, like a banagan. So they make the top of the bookshelf or the window seals like this. So it's on a slant, so you can't put anything over there. The same thing with the cups. The cups, when you go, you know why the doctor has a cup like that? Because otherwise he's going to have to hire a cleaning guy to pick up all the cups. You're going to throw up your cup and I'm not going to throw out your cup. Right here in the coffee in the shul, every day people leave their coffee. Musa, by the way, don't leave your coffee here. It's makom of Beit Knesset. Take your coffee and throw it out at the end of the day. So that's why they would have the cups like this. Yoni, you like the pshat? That's why I didn't know that. The company sell the cups like that. You knew that, or did you ever know that? It makes sense from the Gemara we learned. So that was one thing. Shechat Yisrael v'kiber Kohen. So now the Yid shechts it. Whoever asked the question last week, here's the answer. You don't have to be a Kohen to shech the Korban Pesach. Any Yid can shecht it. A Yid will shecht it. Now the blood, I'm shechting. I give you the blood. I give you the bowl. I give the blood. I give you the bowl. You give that bowl to him. You give the bowl to him. You give the bowl to him. You give the and you throw it in the mizbeach. And now the empty bowl, you give it back to him. So there's always a line of bowls coming and bowls going. I give you one. You give me one. You give, and you're switching back and forth, back and forth. That's what's saying here. So you get the full one. And you give me the empty one. The one who's closest to the mizbeach will spritz it on the wall of the mizbeach, and it will go down and onto the yesod. The yesod is a little base. So a base. The mizbeach had a base on 2 sides, on the northern side and on the western side. So you don't have to throw it on the base. You throw it on the wall where there is a base, and it'll sprinkle down. It will flow down to the base of the yesod. Yatzta kohen rishona v'nichnesa kat shniya. So if you okay, so now the first group leaves and the second one comes in. Yatzta shniya nichnesna shishit. When the second group goes out, the third one comes in. So the same thing, the first one was the second one. You know, and the third one, they were all doing the same thing. Now, while they're shechting Korban Pesach, look what it says, they were reading the Hallel during Korban Pesach. Because I'm 50 guys over here. Like you said, everybody's there. I'm not shechting. What am I doing? You're shechting. You're getting the blood. What am I, just watching? You're singing Hallel. Gamru. And if, while the time that they're shechting, it takes a lot of time because a lot of people over here, and there's a big lineup to that line of the Kohen to sprinkle the blood, and we're still in the Azara, so we sing it once, we're going to sing it again. V'im shanu shilshu. And if they finished it twice, they're going to read it a third time. Even though we never really finished the third time. It was always so fast that all the people inside would finish the whole Korban Pesach by the time we finished once, twice, and 2.5 Hallels. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, מימיהם של כת שלישי לא הגיעו להפתי ישמע השם. There is in Hallel, V'hafti Yishma Hashem, we never even got to there. We would always be finished after 1 or 2 Hallels. Mistama, they were singing nicely and slowly and not rushing it, right? Because always on the third group, there was not a lot of people. Whoever's, you want to be third, you show up early with you're waiting in line early at the Beit Mikdash. There's not so many people in the third group. The same thing that would happen in the week, the same in Shabbat. You're allowed to do everything the same, even when Erev Pesach is on Shabbos. There was one thing, everything was the same, but the Chachamim weren't happy about one thing was the same. Can you imagine how much blood is inside the Beit Mikdash on these days? How do you clean the Beit Mikdash? It's a wonderful system. There was no hoses. What there was amat mine. There was a little stream of water that would come into one side of the Azara and go out the other side. It's like a little stream. There's always water over there flowing from one side to the other. There's a hole on this wall and there's a hole on this wall. It's coming in one wall, going in the other wall. When we want to clean it up, we plug up this wall. It starts to flood a bit. It's cleaning up all the blood, gathering all the blood. You take off the hole like a bath, and then everything goes out. So they would do that also on Shabbat, and Chachamim held the Kohanim were doing it. And the rabbis weren't so happy because you shouldn't be doing that on Shabbat. You find another way. We're going to see in the Gemara what's the problem of doing that system on Shabbat or no. Maybe it's boneh with the wall. We're going to see.
The rabbis weren't having the Kohanim. The Kohanim weren't the ultimate authority?
No. Kohanim, don't forget.
They're just employees?
Yes, of course. Let's think about it for a second.
Oh, wow.
Who is working the Beit Mikdash? Every family that's Kohen. The guy's living in Beersheba, the guy lives in Tveria, the guy lives in Tel Aviv, the guy's showing up. He's showing up twice a year, not during the Chagim, and 3 times a year during the Chagim. Kohanim need to be in the Beit Mikdash 5 weeks a year. That's why they get Truma. That's why they get a lot of things. They need to be constantly involved in Alachot. They don't have land, the Kohanim.
There's no full-time Kohen.
Yes, there's a Kohen Gadol, there's a Skan Kohen, and they're always there. And there is a Sanhedrin. There is the Beit Din over there. The Beit Din is supervising. And most Kohanim know their stuff. But not always the Kohanim,
So there's a mashgiach for the Kohanim.
There's a mashgiach for the Kohanim, for sure. There's a Rav over there who's asking, this Kohen's Amaretz. This family, these guys are not serious. They showed up this week. When this family comes, it's so many mess-ups in the Beit HaMikdash. Soon it's going to be like book online for your Korban, what Korban you bring. The thing, I went to Lakewood. I can't believe that there wasn't Lakewood. I never seen this in my life. We went to Lakewood for Sukkot, and there was now a new restaurant over there. There's no lineups. I guess maybe that's becoming the new. There's no lineup. You do the thing over here. You check. There's 1,000,001 choices just of ice creams. This sprinkle and that cream and this that. It is crazy. No, but it was next level. It was a factory of food, and you just choose what you want. It gets delivered to you. So that's going to be the Beit Mikdash. For sure, going to have the highest, what korban you're bringing, what animal do you need, are you this, put in all your statuses of halacha, your tummy, what day you were, everything's going to be there. So, we're going to need a mashgiach. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kos,
Uber korban.
Uber Eats.
Crazy, but we're going to use all that. It's all going to be real. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kos hayam mimnei midam atarovet. I want to tell you guys something after soon. So Rabbi Yehuda says they would take there was a leftover cup. They would take over the leftover bloods in a cup. So Rabbi Yehuda said, you know what? All the leftover blood, we'll just put it in one cup and we're going to throw it on the mizbech. The rabbis did not like that. That's machloket Rabbi Yehuda. Now don't forget, you gotta burn the skins. You gotta burn the stomach. How do you exactly skin the animal, and how do you hang it and skin it? How do you hang the animal? Yeah, the animal's dead. You ever went to a slaughterhouse? They hang it up and they start skinning it. So there was little hooks of metal with an upward hook in all the walls of the Beit Mikdash. And there was certain amudim, like there was pillars there, and there was a lot of hooks all over. So you take your animal, you put it over there, and you start skinning it. By the way, everybody needs to know how to do that. It wasn't a butcher job. Every lady, every guy in his house, he was getting a chicken, he was getting a thing, he was skinning it and taking the pieces that we eat. We go and everything is ready at the butcher, but that's how it used to be. Now, what about kol mi she'eno makom nitnot? So now it's taken. It's like a rush. Who's going to get the hook? It's like who's going to get to the tzion and say who's going to be in front over there? That's how it was. Who was going to put his korban first? Maklot dekalim, dakim, because they were there. Who cannot do it? Maklot dakim, last line, v'chalakim ayusham. So there was like little pieces of wood, like a makel, a beam of wood, a makel is like a staff of wood, and there was no like splinters in it. It was like very, like we took off all the skin, like the what is the rough, I guess, of the wood, and I put it on my shoulder, you put it on your shoulder, and we're there together. We hang the animal on it, and then we skin it like that. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Yudaled shecha liyot b'Shabbat maniach yado al katef v'chaverot yado al katef al ketefa v'tolo mafshit. So if it would be Shabbos, we don't use those beams. We don't use those maker, that staff. Why? Because some say it's mukse, some say you can't skin it. Either way, we'll see what the Gemara says about that if it's there. So you would use our hands. I'll put my hand here, you'll put your hand here, and we'll use the other hand. We'll put left hand. We'll be holding it together, holding that, and we're skinning it while we're holding it. Kar'u ve'otziet imurav. So we take out the imurav. I think it's the stomach. Does it stay with us? Nadnu b'megis. We put it in a bowl and we would burn it. So we're not eating the innards. You're not eating the intestines. You take out the intestines. That what says imurav. Chaim?
It's the fats of every sacrifice in certain organs, the kidneys, parts of the liver, the diaphragm, and the tail of a sheep.
All those things in the stomach that you're not eating. Yatztakat rishona. Now, what about if it's Shabbos? You can't go home. You can't carry it. So you got your korban. But what are you going to do? You're going to start walking back on Shabbat. It's hotzah. So yatztakat rishona yashva be'arabayit. So there was a place a little bit further from the Beit Midrash. It's called Harabayit. So the first group would go and sit there, and they would sit there until Shabbos comes out. Shnia bechel, and the second one would be sitting in a place that's called Chel, a little bit closer. Vashlishit bin koman. The third one would be pashut in diazara. They would stay there. They would chill there. Omdot chashecha yatsu bitzaru et piskan. So when Shabbos came out, it's Motzei Shabbat. It's already Yom Tov. Go home. Everybody get to your place and roast your korban Pesach and do your seder Pesach later night. How long would it be? Nobody should complain about 5 minutes extra on Motzei Shabbos to stay extra for that Torah. Here, there was Shabbos. They had to get their korban. They had to walk home, and they start cooking it when they get home for the Pesach seder. Chazak u'baruch. I'm going to be saying